my bachelor's and master's degree in nutrition, specifically nutrition education. I do not have, I'm not a registered dietitian, but yeah, no, I do have my master's, so I have studied nutrition for some time. And I've been with Isogenics for about 8 years in the R&D or the science, on the science team. So yeah.
Fun. Well, great. Yeah. I guess I've been with Isogenics coming up on 11 years, and the products did amazing things for my health. So I'm so appreciative. I've gotten to the point now where I don't question everything over all these last years, just because I trust you guys. And so, yeah, I'm very confident, about what you guys are doing. I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist. Thank you for letting me know about your I was just curious because I wanted to give you full credit for what you are. I didn't want to not understand.
No worries.
So, yeah. So how about and I will ask you a quick question first. It's okay, JoJo? I can ask you a quick
absolutely, for sure.
Just something I've always wondered about. I know that with the proprietary, for instance, the alfalfa and the ionic minerals and so forth, that we can't list amounts. And is there any way to find how much magnesium is in, like, the ionics or the cleanse and the form of the magnesium?
No, that is a tough one, and it likely wouldn't be much at all. If anything, the ionic alfalfa does contain some trace minerals, but it would not be anything significant for magnesium.
Okay. So more trace minerals. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why, why we can't necessarily, we could test it, but we do know that it varies because it's, it's naturally derived, and what's in there is, it comes from the earth. From batch to batch, the amounts would vary and might be in one batch, it might be higher in certain ones than others. So that's why we don't list amounts, because we know that it's going to be just slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that would be in the ionics and cleanse and everything then, right? So that's kind of
anything that has the alfalfa.
Okay.
So can you guys see me, or is it a picture of me? I don't even know what's happening.
No, you don't have your screen on, but you can turn it on if you want to.
Yeah. And no, and sorry, I would, but
no, you're fine.
My desk, it's easier.
See your face. It's totally good. So what we've come across is that we have a group of people who, so like we have one of the guys who's actually kind of one of the chair people for the MTHFR organization. And from what we're understanding right now, they're just kind of pulling everybody back from everything that isn't natural folate. So if it's been converted to folic acid, then they're pulling people away from it. But in the research that I've been doing, I'm realizing that every single person with the mutation is different, and that they absorb and do different things. So what we want to be able to do is really just be able to have an intelligent conversation about this, when it comes to our products. I know you just had some good outlook on that, and knowing that a lot of what we're going to talk about is opinion based versus, right? So
yeah, the thing is that the science, what the science shows thus far, first of all, is just that people who have these mutations don't have to necessarily avoid cyanocobalamin, a form of vitamin B12 that we use or can be found in supplements, as well as folic acid. And granted, yes, the science, as with anything in science, it's always ongoing. It's never fully, solidified. That's why we keep our eye on it and continue to read research. But still, though, so yes, you could say this is more my opinion. I guess I just want to separate my opinion from necessarily, this is not like the official stance of Isogenics, because we necessarily haven't taken one.
Okay.
But we do keep our eye on the science. So, I mean, what I can share is from my reading. I mean, I've been catching up on more research today for this call. So I can just share with you what I see in the research.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, I mean, and it really is unfortunate because, you know, it's a serious thing when you're influencing people on health or diet choices. And, I mean, it's important. And to make people believe that, or to scare people into thinking that, you know, folic acid or cyanocobalamin is, you know, poison or going to worsen their situation is, in my mind, it's just flat out wrong. And it's abuse of whatever credentials these people may hold, because you do have people that trust you. And again, I mean, and if you were to ask genetic experts or MDs, any of these, they would probably look at you with, you know, like it doesn't even register with them because it's just not something that's even accepted or even in science. I mean, a lot of these studies with these mutations and people who have them, folic acid and cyanocobalamin are the treatments, right, to help them. So it's just really crazy. And I know it's, you know, and there again, though, it's a hard thing to challenge somebody when they've been told by a trusted health practitioner. You know, it's a hard conversation to have. So I take it that's what you're running into,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It is. And I mean, really, they're saying, okay, we can take folate, but we can't take folic acid. Which things have just folate? Which things have just folic acid? And to me, I was going, that just feels really complicated and wrong. And how do you eat every day? Like how that's,
Right.
I mean, it would be really difficult to just go to a grocery store and eat, or even go to a restaurant and eat, or it just seemed really difficult. And so in doing the research, I felt like I just don't feel like I'm having an intelligent conversation. So I want to make myself more educated here. And so being able to come back to them and say, you know, we could do this, and then there's a way to test, or, you know, we believe that this could be supportive. And obviously everybody has to make their own choice and their own decision. And it's always, we love it when their physician gets involved and will monitor what's happening. And so really, I mean, really, I'm just looking from you for some talking points that would help us be able to have that conversation in a more
Yeah. Well, I mean, and first off, I mean, and that's why, you know, you kind of have two ways you can go. If you have somebody who's pretty strong in the belief or stance on this, that they have to avoid folic acid, then I think I would probably more go the route of, well, okay, you can easily avoid folic acid in isogenic products. We have a couple different pathways you can go, or, you know, regimens that you can choose from that don't have folic acid. Now, granted, as we know, it is going to be, you know, it's not going to be your typical 30-day, or you might have to get a little creative as far as, let's say, cleanse day products. That obviously they have to be the dairy-free or the plant-based shakes that don't have the added vitamins or minerals. That would be their, you know, meals. Some of the bars, the dairy-based bars, I do believe, I'd have to double check, but I believe some of those don't contain folic acid. As far as cleanse days, there would kind of just be picking and choosing, you know, helping them if they want to do cleanse days or intermittent fasting, finding the products that don't have folic acid. So, you know, like the greens, E plus, like basically I would just put together maybe, you know, think of the cleanse day that they're having Cleanse for Life. Well, in fact, in Cleanse for Life doesn't even have folic acid. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here. It depends on if they're only avoiding folic acid or if they're also avoiding B12 cyanocobalamin. If they're avoiding both, then it's a little bit tougher because Cleanse for Life has B12, but it doesn't have folic acid, right? So I guess you kind of got to start there. Like, what are they avoiding? So if they're just avoiding folic acid, then you have more to work with in that, you know, cleanse days, Cleanse for Life. can be had. Even the ionics, what is it? The liquid does not have folic acid, but the powder does. So
that's good to know.
yeah.
Mm.
And so it really depends, but you could still either way put together a protocol with them, finding what products don't have either one or both.
Okay.
So there's that route. I mean, if they're open to having a conversation about it or allowing you to not challenge them, but just, share what you've learned in that, from what you've learned and I've been trying to find, there are some good articles out there written by, science writers and people who can actually decipher research.
Right.
And I'm wanting them to write more, but basically just saying how it's really not a credible evidence issue. I mean, and more so too, because there's two parts to this whole MTHFR issue. One is that if you have the mutation, there's a ton of diseases that you're probably going to get because of it. While there are some associations between certain conditions and it's not like a concrete thing that it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then also the second part is that, well, if you have it, you have to avoid folic acid, you have to avoid non-methylated forms of these vitamins. So there are definitely good articles and whatnot, which I can share you just so you can, read more into it.
Awesome.
See, but,
okay, perfect.
Kind of debunking that, if you have it, then you're for sure sentenced for diseases and,
right.
eventually death. But then also though too, that this idea that you have to only have, folate or methylated forms is also. Anyway, and here's the thing too, is that I guess other conversation points that you could ask are, okay, well, if you've been tested for this mutation, have you had or has this health practitioner, recommended that you have, what's your folate status? What's your folate status and what's your homocysteine levels? Because that's really the most important thing, is because when people do have this mutation, if they have low folate status, that can help cause their homocysteine levels to be elevated. And that's what the marker is for disease or the risk. When you have elevated homocysteine levels, that can lead to problems. And that's why it's very important to keep your folate status up, which, whether you are ingesting, foods that naturally have folate or folic acid, that is how you're going to keep your folate status good, adequate, where it needs to be. Another thing that the research really, looks to show more than you can't have folic acid is that people with this mutation need higher levels of folic acid or folate, and which again can be achieved by eating both foods that naturally contain folate, but then also supplementing with folic acid. Mm-hmm. And again, if these studies, if it were a known danger, if it were a known thing that has evidence behind it, they would not be using folic acid as the treatment in these studies. It just would not happen.
That's interesting.
So, that right there tells you that this is not an scientifically accepted thing.
Wow.
But again, I get it. I get it which is easy for us humans to do when you oversimplify stuff. And these these are very complicated matters here. Usually, as most things are with body, diet, health. But I can get how it could make sense, like, oh, wow, if my body can't break down or can't process folate, then absolutely I can't have, this form. Like, it's just going to build up and it's going to be, poisonous for my body. So mm-hmm. I can get how people could make that jump. But again, it's way oversimplifying the issue, and it's just not true. Mm. Anyway, and I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're good. It's good. It's all good.
But talking about, I guess I would just ask, okay, well, have you had what's your folate status? Have you had that tested? Your homocysteine levels, And usually a lot of time, and some people will say yes, and hopefully, and especially if their homocysteine levels are normal,
Mm-hmm.
there's no problems then. And especially too, one thing that I found with people, especially for these people who have maybe, let's say, been using Isagenix products that contain folic acid, and they've been using the products for a long time, and then they go get this test and find out they have this mutation, and that, oh my gosh, they have to avoid folic acid. Oh my gosh, it's poison. Well, I asked them, first of all, how long have you been using the product? How's your health been? Right? Pretty good, right? Things are going pretty good using the products. So then it's just a matter of, okay, well, if this thing were poison to you, then how would you be having the results and support for health and healthy living all these years, right? I mean, so that's kind of a easy way to make them realize, like, no, you're okay having folic acid. It's okay. But I guess more so it's probably the newer people or new people who you're trying to sign up who know they have it, and then they look and see, oh gosh, you guys have folic acid. I can't have that.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a scientifically accepted thing.
Okay.
It's not.
So interesting. So where does so I was looking at the bottle of Isagenesis, and so we have methyl and cyanocobalamin both. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, no, I know why we did that. Well, we are, because not to say that there's anything wrong with either the methylated form of folate or folic acid or methylated vitamin B12. Well, there is issue actually, is that they're not stable, meaning that if you put them in a product, they're a month later they're going to be degraded, right? So it's not shelf stable. Also, for food products, you cannot put methylated folate in food products. So like our shake, we would not be able to put in that form of folate. So right there, you just can't. So, but yeah, so we put the methylcobalamin, and that's why we did the mix of methylcobalamin and cyanocobalamin to help maintain the levels, so to keep it stable, but also, to see, or to, give it a try. But again, no, it's not stable. So that's why we don't typically use it.
Okay.
And not to say though too, I mean, I will say there are definitely products you can buy of the methylated folate or folic acid. And, and there's some research showing that, it's bioavailable. It is effective at either improving or maintaining folate status. However, so is folic acid. I mean, folic acid is one of the great public health victories due to, fortifying foods with it and greatly reducing rates of birth defects. So, folic acid just has years and years of safety, efficacy.
Is there folic acid in the Isagenesis?
No, there's no folic acid in the Isagenesis, just the B12.
Okay.
And just so you know, so folate, right? Folate and folic acid it's interchangeable. I mean, they're just two forms of the same chemical, right, or vitamin. But the body, uses them just as it would, and that's why you see them used interchangeably, folate, folic acid. Whereas, folate is in foods, folic acid is supplemental form. You're never going to find folate that's in foods in supplements. It's always going to be a form of folic acid, whether it's methylated or not. And just so you know too, like when you see food products, I know some people will ask this, like when they look at the shake, they see folate on like the facts panel for the amounts, like the percent daily value listed, they see folate. And then in the ingredients, they see folic acid. And that's just simply regulatory labeling laws, right? Every food product has folate listed on for the amount, but then in the ingredients is where you see the exact form. And for food products, it's got to be folic acid.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I have that backwards. So for food products, it has to be folic acid, and for supplements,
supplements you could find either.
And you could find either. Okay. All right, that's good to know. That makes so much sense. And I go, people look at labels and it doesn't tell the whole story. And, you know, we don't have anything else to look at, so how does it make sense? But
yeah, well, and it's true. I mean, unless you have a real understanding of, you know, labeling laws and how it differs between food products and supplement products, then yeah, it's easy to, you know, just make guesses or educated guesses from what you think or what you've heard.
But that's good to know. Beth, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Beth, I'd love to know, what are your thoughts on all this?
Hey, I'm just unmuting. Yeah, no, that is really, really good information. From my, you know, I do read some about it. I have in the past. The people that do discuss it that I follow are very, you know, forthcoming, saying, you know, this whole genetic testing is so new. We really don't have, can't say definitively. I know I'm taking some methyl B12 folate maybe over the past a year, and it's with a naturopath. And when I was very, very ill for 10 years, and I did have elevated homocysteine. It was one of the, had a really good doctor at the time. He was a Western doc, but he was really good at diagnosing. He's no longer with us, but and he did treat me with B vitamins, and they were not methyl at that time. But that was like,
Oh, I think we're losing you. I don't know if
that was maybe 15 years ago. So I use the B vitamins, and I'm sure that's one of the things in Isogenics that helped so much with all the products back then. And then more recently, I have tried some methyl just to give it a try. I used the liquid ionics. Somewhere along the way, I had found that out with a question on the Facebook page that liquid ionics had the folate. And I don't use a lot of cleanse or isogenesis for other reasons, but I use some of the hydrate. It's got some folate, I believe. But I use all the shakes. So I'm doing a little bit of both methyl because, you know, I'm not fully convinced, but I thought it's not going to hurt me to try it. I mean, some people do. If it doesn't agree with them, I have heard and read that people can have some side effects with the methyl, whether it's just reported or suspected. I don't know. I don't think I have had any negative side effects, so I've just tried it for a while. It's not something that I run into a whole lot with my Isogenics people yet. It's mostly me following other people online and the research of it. But I'm with you. I can't put my name behind a strong opinion about methyl vitamins because, you know, as a registered dietitian, I can't put my name behind it. The research is not there, and I don't have any reason to say definitively. You know, it's up for discussion if anybody wants to talk about it, but I can't put my name behind it.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the responsible way to go. Absolutely. I agree with you. And yeah, I mean, and you know, too, sometimes I mean, I would also, if you're having this conversation with people, and especially if they're new customers maybe, or even if they're current customers have been using the products and, you know, they got this genetic testing, now they're being told, you know, they have to avoid folic acid, they only can have methylated. Well, you know, there probably is a product suggestion with that, right? So, I mean, that becomes a whole nother thing of if somebody's providing this testing, but then they're also pushing their product. I mean, because it's a great marketing tool, you know, to give somebody this testing and then say, oh, well, you need this special form, and guess what? I've got the products for it. So there's also that, which I definitely have seen that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I can do, and I haven't put a lot of time into it, but I will, let me look through all the products and I can help you come up with, you know, if you have somebody and you don't really want to go down the rabbit hole of, you know, trying to change their mind, or if they're just strongly have strong feelings about it. But come up with like a regimen that would avoid both folic acid and cyanocobalamin.
Mm-hmm.
And just so that you do run into that, you have something to work with and something to, still offer that they could really benefit from.
That would be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we could offer both ways, because if we can give two perspectives, and then, I mean, it always, that'll be helpful to help somebody choose, for sure.
And
Yeah.
it'll give us the credibility we need to.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, we're trying to be a nutrition company for just about anybody, whether, whatever dietary preference you have, through nutrient-dense meals and snacks, through intermittent fasting, through, plant extracts or, phytonutrients, botanicals. So with that in mind, even if somebody does want to avoid these two, vitamins, we still can support that. And we allow people to, follow whatever they want. We're not in the business of trying to, be the authority on everything and make people follow certain things, especially if they don't want to.
Right.
So we're flexible in that. So we can still put together something.
Well, I love it. And I would so appreciate that. And it just, really allows us to have a different conversation with them. So, right now I feel like I just keep going, okay, I need to research more. I need to learn more, because I don't want to make a recommendation for something that I just didn't have enough. I didn't have enough stance to be able to do that. But being able to have two options and then give some direction, then at least there's the opportunity for them to make a decision based on them knowing we already did some research, so they can feel good about that. Right.
Yeah, no, I can do that. And I'll share with you some links to some of the articles that I've read. I mean, if you want actual studies, I can share that too.
Yeah, anything you can offer would be amazing, and the regimen would be so helpful. So yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we have this guy who's like I think he's kind of directing a lot of the people in the organization which way to go and what to use and what to do. But right now, it seems like their whole stance is avoidance. And I just don't feel good with that.
No. And you know what? And it's really too bad, because think of this situation. You have somebody who now they're afraid of anything that has folic acid or cyanocobalamin, and unless they are supplementing somewhere with whatever form they've been told to take, if they're not, they're even running the risk more of just not getting enough levels, which they need to keep their homocysteine levels down, to maintain status. So really, it can be not a good thing.
Yeah, it's a bad cycle.
Do you hear of people getting like a high 12 level buildup? Because I know I've had that in the past, really, really high.
I haven't worked closely. I have had some people, say that report they had higher levels. And that's another issue, and that's another area of the research that I do like to keep my eye on, because there are, and there too, it's a pretty new area of finding this, unmetabolized B12. Because here's the thing. B12 is water soluble. There's, not really a toxic amount known. But when somebody has elevated levels in their, blood work, does that mean anything? Some physicians or doctors say, no worries, it doesn't matter. Others, will tell you to maybe, stop supplementing or look where you are getting it and reduce it. So that's kind of the jury's still out. I don't think it happens a lot, but if it does, that's an easy, like, okay, well, you can reduce intake of it, whether you cut back or you choose other products that don't. One thing I will tell you, I do as our product development goes forward, we have plenty of B vitamins in our products. We don't need more. That I do believe. And I do believe as well, supplemental B vitamins for a long time were thought, or they still are, they'll be marketed as, they help with your body's energy and this or that, which is fine. But newer research shows that it's a little bit more complicated. Even though they do play a role in your mitochondria and the energy production in your body, it's not the same as, say, having caffeine or, an actual energizing stimulant. That being said, they're just not as necessary in my mind as far as meaning for as we create new products. Like I wouldn't expect to be seeing the levels of B vitamins that we have in some of our like Ionics or the Cleanse in newer products. I mean, almost like, okay, we've got the B vitamins covered. We're good. Now we're focusing on elsewhere. Like we won't just keep always putting the B vitamins in.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
And I know that, and just kind of an FYI, I'm one of the weird people that, and I don't know, how many reports you get of this, but I'm one of the weird people that for the past 11 years, I can't really do a lot of cleanse, isogen. There's something, I don't know if it's my dysautonomia because my heart rate will go up. Particularly if I try to fast, my heart rate goes really high. And so I'm one of those. So to be honest with you, I'm kind of cautious with it. I'm less cautious with people that want to use it because I'm finding, particularly JoJo, even reinforcing that I'm kind of the minority. I don't think it's very common, but maybe differently. But it's something in there. I don't think I do great with maca, and it went back. Something in there. I don't know if it's items. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it could just be detoxing. Maybe I don't clear toxicity well, which is very possible because that's related to the other SNP I have, the COMT. If you believe that, then I don't metabolic cortisol as well. So there could be just an overlap of several things going. Heart rate will shoot up, and I'm dying, like I'm just going to have a heart attack.
Right.
I'm very cautious. And in the very beginning, the first ever cleanse day I did was I was at a Isogenics event in Kansas City. Was I forgot his name again. He was the nutritionist. He's an older gentleman.
Jim Rhodes.
Thank you. Yes. And so I talked to him, and I was literally halfway into the day, and I was just telling him my history. And you know what? You need to not do this right now, because he just said, this is not agreeing with you. And what's worse is and when I have done even a half day cleanse day, it's the following day or two where I feel terrible. I'm the opposite of everybody. Usually they feel better. I feel terrible. Like obviously there's some detox symptoms, but it's just so I'm cautious. I wish I knew better how to deal with it, but I just don't. I've tried, but I still use all the products. I still believe in every product. But just FYI.
Yeah, no, and thanks for sharing. And that's a perfect example of, yes, we have so many great things about our products and systems, but it doesn't mean that every part is going to be for every person, right? And everybody's body's different. As you shared, you do have some conditions or some natural things about your body that might prevent you or might not make doing cleanse days or doing the fasting not for you. And that's okay. I mean, I love how you said, but you still use things, you still believe them, you still benefit from them. You just don't do the cleanse days as others do. So that's perfect. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of that, of, everybody's different. You can't expect everyone to be doing everything because it may not work for everyone, but yet we still have a path. We still have a great product regimen to customize.
And, speaking of new products, some of our favorites like the oat bar, the berry shakes, are those usually pulled just because they're not selling enough?
Yeah, no, I will say in the last few years or so, our marketing team or sales, the people who decide that kind of stuff, they've really been putting to the test. If things aren't, the numbers aren't there, then, pulling them and then focusing on something new. And I will say, and, don't tell anybody, you didn't hear it from me, we are coming out with a new version of the berry dairy-free shake. Ooh. That will be coming very, very soon. Yeah. And then, as far as the bars, that's going to be, I know we've kind of taken a little bit of a break from focusing on them, but our new chief science officer, he wants us to refocus on bars. So there will be some exciting things coming there.
Yay. So we like the 4 ingredient bars, like the solid food bar. So I'm hoping that they come up with something that's going to be like that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, those are, but those are interesting, and we do have. I mean, it's an interesting challenge, but it is a challenge especially with those bars, it does depend because a lot of those either they need to be refrigerated or they don't have very long shelf lives. So when you're a company like ours, right, especially being global, when it takes 2 months for products to make it, to Australia, we do have things that we have to,
That's interesting. Yeah.
But still, it doesn't mean though that we can't. We definitely are looking into it. I mean, because that's the way people are going, right?
Yeah. I haven't got to meet him yet. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard really good things about him. And,
yeah, no, he is. He is really great, and he wants us to be putting out products. I mean, within our good nutritional products, but a lot faster than we have in the past. So that's pretty exciting.
That's cool. We're ready for a generation 5.
Oh, of isogenesis. Well, that will always be John Anderson.
John's, I know.
Yep. So
that's his baby.
And I do know he continues to work on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come up with something. Or I've even heard rumors of him experimenting with like different forms of it, not being in a capsule or soft gel, but maybe some kind of a powder or anyway. So
right, that would be. We're waiting patiently. Yeah, because we love the one that we have, but anytime you improve, then everyone gets excited again, right? We want to. We like to keep the excitement high. But wow. Well, Beth, do you have any other questions?
Gosh, I probably do.
Think of
so much.
Right.
No, well, hey, the conversation never has to end, so you can just reach out and.
Well, and I think that it just gives us a good direction and having the regiment put together, and then being able to go, okay, this is what has this is what has this, and these are what we can do if you really want to be in the avoidance role. Then we can still support. I just want to be able to still support without going, we just have to throw everything out, because I don't believe that that's true.
Exactly.
And that would be so much help with the conversation. So
well, and you tell me though, because from and again, I'm not, I'm on the science side, I'm not really on the sales side, so I'm not even fully aware. I should be. I need to do more research into it, but we do have an option where people can totally customize a pack, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can individualize, we can do products individually, we can put a pack together. I can create a dairy-free pack if somebody wants to be in avoidance mode, and we can just go that way. Absolutely. Okay. I can do, and maybe it's not a pack per se, but it's just individual products that we're able to use.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, we have total control over all of that. So, it's just being able to give direction.
Yeah.
Which I think this will really help with. So, Sara, thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
Take up any more of your time, but the regiment will be so helpful, and so we will patiently wait for that.
Yeah. No, and I should be able to get something to you in the next couple of days.
Sure. Okay, that would be so helpful. And any links that you want to shoot over, feel free to drop them in my little box, and for sure. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Really, it's my pleasure. Good to talk to you both.
Good to talk to you.
And we'll be in touch.
All right. It sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.